All right, so a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. If you pulled the code from the GitHub, or at least looked at the GitHub, on accounts models, we don't have the settings imported, so django.conf.import settings. We haven't actually imported that. It's just a little error that must have been removed before it was actually added to GitHub, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew about it. And the other one is signals.py. Now, if we actually ran a login and tested this receiver function out, we would see that it doesn't work. So let's just try it out. Print something. And going into Chrome, I log out of my app, log in again, and inside of my terminal, I should see something, like it should print out something, right? But it's not. And that's because Django is not going to treat the signals file as anything other than a regular Python file. So it's not going to read through it to look to see if there's a signal that it needs to connect. It's a simple fix. It's one that we just forgot to mention in the last one, and that's in init.py. We just import signals, and now it's absolutely going to work. So if I go ahead and try it out, log out, and then log in again, now my signal is actually going through, and it says something, so we could even test it even further to make sure that we've got a user stripe ID, so user.user.stripe.stripe ID. We can even print that out instead of something. And try that one more time, log in, and now we see the stripe ID. Okay, so perfect. So now the signal is actually working. So when a new user logs in, or at least a customer that does not have a stripe ID, then we will actually create one for them. So what we want to do too is stripe ID. If we look at the accounts here, if it's created, if this model is created, it's definitely going to be there. So this will run an exception if it's not there. As we've talked about before, user stripe does not exist, then it runs this exception. If there's something else, then there's something else. And we can just pass on that case. All right, so now that we've got our signals working and our models back up and working, it's time to actually get into starting to actually make a login and log out information for our site, right? So if we go into our project right now, we need to have like an account page where they can, or at least a drop down where they can log in and log out. So the very first thing we're going to do is a very simple log out button. And what we're going to do is open up our account views. So let's close out these other files. We just need views right now. And I'm going to do from django.contrib.auth import logout. While I'm at it, I might as well import login and authenticate, which are things that we will work on shortly. But logout is a fairly straightforward function that we will use in our view. So I'll just do define. I'll call this the logout view, and it takes in a request, and it's just going to log out. And then we want it to actually like return some render to response or actually a redirect. So what we're going to do is actually do a redirect in here, and I'll do an HTTP response redirect. And for now, I'm just going to do return, and I'm going to have it go home. So using that slash will make it go to the home page. So all this logout view does is log out. Now, you don't want to call it logout itself, the view itself, because it'll conflict with the logout that we're importing. So that is, if you called it logout, you're going to run into some errors here because it's two different, or it's two functions that are doing the that are called the same thing but are doing different things. So we call it our logout view. Now in our URLs, all we're going to do is add a logout link for it, and I'll just do URL r and accounts logout / with the $, oops, in here, and it's going to be an accounts going to our view function, accounts.views.logout view, and we'll give it a name of auth logout. So of course that's our URL name. All right, so now that we've got this, we can actually test this out. So let's grab this off Logout. We'll go in our templates here, go into our nav bar, and I'm just going to create a new link specifically for Logout. Eventually we'll have it where it has something for this drop down, but for now we're just going to use it as a list element. So href equals to URL off Logout, because we just named it that, and we'll just call it Logout. All right, so what's going to happen here is once we click on Logout, it's going to take us to the home page. So let's actually go into our app, do a little refresh here. Now we have this Logout, so let's actually move to a different page that's not our home page. So let's look at the t-shirt product. We click on Logout, and it says Logout takes exactly one argument, 0 given. That's because we needed to add one more thing, which is if we go into our views, we do actually have to use the request, just like our Logout view. So it actually logs out of the request. That was the one error. So let's go back to our t-shirt, did a little refresh here, hit Logout, and now as you see, we are actually logged out. And I can do that one more time, say print logging out. And of course, we could also use a logged out signal. So we have user logged in. We can also use a user logged out signal if we wanted to do something after they logged out, such as like send them an email, thanks for visiting. I don't know why you would do that specifically, but you could also say that you could send this email to yourself or something like that. All right, so now that we have this, let's just go ahead and test it out. Of course, the only way we can log in right now is by going into admin, log in, log out. Oops, we want to log in, we want to stay logged in. All right. And now going back, we see Logout's there again. Click on t-shirt again, log out, and logging out. That's how simple logging out is. So the next couple, we are going to be doing a login as well as creating a user. Logging in is a lot easier than creating a user. However, it is still a little challenging because there's a few things that we'll need to do when we actually log in, such as checking their password and also making sure that the user, there's only one of those users, a few different things here and there. So we'll see what that's like in the next one.